Welcome back, America. We're here with Representative Byron Donalds, who sits on the Oversight Committee in the House. And more than that, he's a brilliant young man and a star in the Republican Party. Byron Donalds, you haven't been in Congress that long, but I guess you've been in there long enough to see what's going on in Washington, D.C. You have an administration that is as crooked as anything I've ever seen. You have a Department of Justice that, in my view, is absolutely corrupt. The Durham report pointed that out. And you have a prosecutor who's a hitman. On the other side, they're all protecting Biden. You sit on this oversight committee. You see these front corporations. You see millions of dollars flowing through these corporations from foreign governments. Have we been able to determine yet what's happened to all this money?
Well, Mark, first, it's good to be with you. What we can determine is that the Biden spent all this money. You know, if you look at the testimony from Mr. Ziegler, who was the point person on the investigation, who started the investigation into Hunter Biden, one of his comments in his testimony to the Oversight Committee was that when they started looking into his bank records, they could see that he was living lavishly off of his corporate accounts. And I asked Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Shapley, if somebody's living lavishly off their corporate accounts and deducting all of this from their tax returns, is that signs of tax evasion to prompt an investigation? They both answered yes. And so that's what started this whole investigation back in 2018. And to your broader point, what is pretty clear now is that Hunter Biden was the facilitator for Jim Biden and Joe Biden. He was the one that was pulling all this money in. Everybody in the Biden family is either getting direct payments or their living expenses and their luxuriation is being covered by Hunter Biden or by one of these companies. And then the last piece of this is that the FBI knew about this. They were getting information from their confidential human source. IRS, the International Tax Fraud Department, where Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler work, they were investigating this. And somewhere in Maine justice, they were slow walking these investigations, stonewalling these investigations, letting the statute of limitations run out on these investigations. And in my mind, that is clearly obstruction of justice from the Department of Justice.
Do you think that's one of the reasons, and this is what I've stated, that the other day during this hearing, the Judiciary Committee with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they threw every piece of mud they could at this guy. They viciously attacked even his family name. You don't have to agree with the guy, but the fact that he dares to take on Biden. And you see the hearing before, also, in the committee that you sit in, Democrats did exactly the same thing. Not a single Democrat cares about any of this. Every one of them is covering up. Every single one of them is covering up for Joe Biden. Isn't that what's going on here? They go after Robert Kennedy. They go after the FBI whistleblowers. They go after the IRS whistleblowers. I thought they liked whistleblowers. Now they defend the FBI when they used to attack the FBI. Now they defend the IRS with their 87,000 new agents when we had people. We actually had black representatives complaining about how the IRS has targeted blacks more than whites, who voted for 87,000 more IRS agents. Isn't it abundantly clear what's going on here, that the Democrat Party is like a mob operation?
No, I think it's totally clear. Look, let's put out one piece of facts. Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Shapley testified that they can track $17.3 million that Hunter Biden was getting from Romania, Ukraine, and China. That's just those. I asked the chairman in the middle of our hearing, from those countries, how much has oversight in our own investigation tracked? In the oversight committee with our investigation, we're well over $10 million from those countries that we've been able to track down. So you have two independent investigations, one at the IRS, one with the oversight committee under House Republicans, both coming up with the same countries, the same companies, tens of millions of dollars. But all the Democrats want to do is talk about Donald Trump. All they want to do is ignore this story. And I think, Mark, the bigger thing is that in the press with the big media and a lot of the Democrats in committee, they weren't even talking about the elements of facts dealing with the corruption in the Biden family. They didn't even want to really talk to Robert Kennedy. They just wanted to smear him. But they don't want to deal with the reality that our agencies have been weaponized politically, and they've been weaponized against the American people. They have been censoring, and they have been covering up for Joe Biden and Hunter Biden.
So the government media, Byron Donalds, CNN and MSNBC didn't cover either of these hearings, despite the explosive information that came forward. And I can remember as a kid watching the Watergate hearings. I can remember as a young adult watching the Iran-Contra hearings. The networks carried it live. It's amazing. We'll be right back. Welcome back, America. We're here with Byron Donalds, great Congressman. Byron, it wasn't that long ago when Ken Starr was an independent counsel during the Clinton administration, and they kept throwing issues to him, Attorney General Janet Reno. At least she had the integrity to do that. And he'd be conducting these investigations. The media in America, they would have their paparazzi out in front of his home, morning, noon, and night. He'd come out in the morning with a cup of coffee, be greeted with about 20 reporters. He'd go home late at night, he'd be greeted with more reporters. They threw questions at him about him, his bias, his faith, all the rest of it. Tell me, how many cameras are at Jack Smith's home? Do we know where he lives? How many questions have been thrown at Jack Smith? How many reporters have confronted Jack Smith? Do you know of any?
No, the only thing I know about that is that they followed him to go to Subway so he could have a photo op at Subway, which is ridiculous. That's one. Number two, the media never questioned the fact that it's clear that Jack Smith and his investigative team are leaking to the press. They're leaking from a criminal investigation into the press to set the narrative and to set the tempo in public opinion. And the big press, the big media, they're such lapdogs. They just follow it hook, line, and sinker. And the reason why is because they are totally invested in Joe Biden. A lot of these reporters believe in this radical agenda. They think this is a good thing. And so they're willing to cover up and allow for the corruption at the Department of Justice to occur and not even cover it and not even really tell the American people. Listen, if you don't agree with the story, just say I don't agree, but at least tell the people what is happening. We do know that information from Jack Smith is being leaked into the press because how could they report on these investigations without leaks coming from him? It's disgusting and it's wrong. And that is why so many Americans have serious issues trusting the agencies of our government. And the thing that's really starting to piss me off is that the Democrats lecture us on democracy. They try to lecture us on trying to save the institutions. But the reality is they, with their media apparatchiks, they are the ones who are destroying our democracy and destroying faith in our institutions.
100%. Let's look at this election coming up, Byron Donalds. We have the Democrats and Eric Holder, former Attorney General of the United States under Obama, Deputy Attorney General under Clinton, a Democrat hack. We have Adam Schiff. We know all about him. We won't go there, but we know all about him. Both have said if Donald Trump is convicted of a single indictment, now that could be the DA here, the DA there, the Attorney General there, could be these two grand juries in Washington. And if he's still elected, they're going to move to and push for having him impeached. And then we have another movement going on among Democrats and dark money billionaires funding these radical left-wing Marxist groups who are trying to convince secretaries of state across the country and attorneys general under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that Donald Trump led an insurrection. Therefore, he's unqualified to be on a ballot, and if he wins, to even be represented, which in part is the reason why I think this prosecutor is thinking about bringing a January 6th charge and is targeting Trump on this. So here's my question to you. If they're not going to accept the outcome of an election, no matter what, we Republicans, we see all this interference in this election, trials during the election, indictments during the election, accusations during election. So if Biden wins, are we supposed to roll over and just accept that? Isn't this the danger that the Democrat Party is putting this republic in, sir?
Oh, it's absolutely correct. And this has been going on now for 3 presidential elections. Let's go back, Mark, 2016. The Crossfire Hurricane investigation, that was a farce. It was a lie. They lied to the FISA courts. They spied on Donald Trump's campaign. all because Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the next president and everybody got scared that she might lose. And that's really what this was really all about. They were covering up for her at the time and they wanted her to be president. So they lied. Barack Obama was briefed on the fact that she lied and laundered information into the intelligence community. And Russia collusion was them interfering in the 2016 election, but they weren't successful. The 2020 election, the cover-up of the FBI Form 1023, the cover-up of the fact that, yes, that was Hunter Biden's laptop, the cover-up of the fact that, yes, the Bidens took millions of dollars from Burisma in a public corruption scandal with Joe Biden, including Joe Biden, and they covered it up. That was interfering in the 2020 election. And now here we are in 2024, indictment after indictment, all ridiculous and silly issues. Even if you want to say that there's a document issue, that's a process issue. Mark, you've said it many times. There are no criminal provisions in the Presidential Records Act. Why? Because presidents are allowed to have a back and forth with NARA for a 5-year period. It hasn't even been 3 years, and they're trying to criminalize this. This is the Democrats destroying the very fabric of our country because they want power. They want to institutionalize their agenda. And to be frank, when Donald Trump became president, it was a pause in their ability to institutionalize their agenda, which is going to be bad for our country. It favors the Chinese. It favors the Western Europeans down this silly Green New Deal mess. And it's bad for men and women in our country, no matter your politics.
Couldn't have said it better, Congressman, and that's why you're a star in the House of Representatives. Thank you very much, Congressman Byron Donalds. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll be right back.